All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Carlo Mobilis, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. I'm pleased to introduce today's speaker, Solutions Architect. Let me go ahead and advance the slide, Julio Guerrero. But before I hand over the mic, I do have a few housekeeping items to cover about today's presentation. Today's session will be recorded and made available on demand. We'll provide some details at the end. If you have a question for our speaker, please feel free to use a Q&A panel to submit your questions. This way our panelists can respond accordingly and get your answers taken care of. Again, we thank you very much for joining in today's session. We do have a live stream going on, but Q&A is limited to those via WebEx. However, we will have a post-event discussion thread where you can post follow-up questions that you may have. So without any further ado, I'd like to go ahead and welcome Julio. Julio, over to you.
Thank you, Carlo. And let me share my screen, please. So hello, everyone. My name is Julio Guerrero. I'm a solutions architect with the Campus Network team. I'm in charge of a couple of use cases, including the Cattle Center and Cisco Spaces. We have prepared today's webinar so you can learn about how to deploy the Cattle Center virtual appliance either on AWS and ESXi. On today's session, you will learn about this component and tools that will help you deploy this easily. Remember, we had a name change. Cattle Center was formerly known as Cisco DNA Center. In this session, you will also be familiar with all the architecture components on AWS that will help you get deployed either with the manual mode or the automated deployment using the Launchpad on AWS. For the ESXi part, you will learn about what are the prerequisites in order to deploy these on your virtual environment on your enterprise. And you will also understand the installation and configuration process to get this done. We will see what are the supported features and capabilities and what are the options for you to deploy this virtual machine on your ESXi environment. We'd like to know a little bit more about your current setup. If you already have a Catalyst Center on your environment, we'd like to know if this is a DN1, DN2, if you're already using this Catalyst Center on AWS or ESXi, or you don't have any Catalyst Center installed. There's going to be this slide coming up for you so you can respond to us and we will gather more information to get to know you better. Now, let's move it forward. On today's agenda, we will review the two options for the virtual appliance setup, AWS and ESXi, and each of these sections will have a demo for you. Let's get started. So, Catalyst Center on ESXi. As you can see, let's review first what are the current form factors that we have. We have the physical appliance that many of you may be familiar with. We had a previous family, DN1, DN2, and now we will come up with the DN3 appliance and hardware flavor. We'll explain a little bit more about the upcoming families and about these end-of-life milestones that you may need to be aware if you're planning to migrate into a virtual appliance. We came up with the newer version for the Catalyst Center 2375 as for today. But as you can see, our on-premise solution for the virtual appliance came out of January this year with the 2374 release. This will come with all the flexibility and cost savings for your network management, so you can deploy these either on a virtual appliance, on-prem, or in cloud on the AWS. We have a current recommended release for both the physical appliance and the AWS as 2355. So it depends on your needs, you either can use these solutions. The virtual appliance will bring all the features and capabilities from Catalyst Center on your either ESXi infrastructure or the AWS cloud, without the need of additional hardware. So you will enjoy faster deployment and configuration, accelerating this to time to value. So if you know, the Catalyst Center software is included with the Catalyst Essentials and the Catalyst Advantage subscriptions, but we do highly recommend so you can get the annual support package for a peace of mind. So you can have the support for these two flavors that we are putting in here. There's not going to be an additional charge for the software, but you need to be aware of the costs that they're coming from AWS. This includes the compute, storage, and bandwidth. Now, remember, we have a feature parity between these two flavors of the virtual appliance with the DN244 core physical appliance. There is no clustering support, but we do rely on the high availability from AWS and ESXi. So the quicker time to value, you can see that within 60 to 90 minutes, you will be able to get a new Catalyst Center up and running, ready to manage your network. Moving forward to the DN1 appliance end of life milestones, you can see that we had the announcement for the end of life on February 15, 12, 19, and it has reached almost the end of software maintenance. This is an updated end of life milestone. It was supposed to be mid year 2024, but we have updated this end of software maintenance and the last day of support to March 31st of 2025. If you still have a DN1, you will have support until next year. But we do suggest for you to be prepared to migrate to one of the options that we have as for now, either a virtual appliance or a DN3 appliance. For the DN2, we have a similar end of life milestones. We announced the end of life in September 30, 2023. The end of sale will occur already on March 30, and the last day of shipping will be by mid-year 2024. So if you are going to order a new hardware appliance, please be aware of this. Check with your sales team so you can get a new DN3 appliance order if you're ordering some other during the rest of the year. The last day of support, as you can see, is still March 31st on 2029. If you want to know a little bit more about the end of life for the software itself, we will leave you a link in here and we will share that by the end of the session. So you can verify which are the support dates for each software release. Let's take a look on the system scale for the new DN3 and the virtual appliance families. Remember, the DN2s were based on an M5 UCS 220 with 44, 56, and 111 cores. If you can see, we have the new models of DN3, the normal appliance, the large, and the extra large, different amount of cores, but in an MC UCS. We're waiting for the updated data sheet on 237 to get the exact numbers for clustering. This hardware appliance, you can get a cluster of 3x, so you can get high availability and you can increase the numbers of endpoints that you can support. If you see the virtual appliance for both AWS and ESXi, matches with the DN2 hardware appliance scale numbers for 25K endpoints, 1,000 network devices, up to 4K access points, and you can create up to 1,500 sites. Are the details for the SD access enabled fabric. You can have up to 25K access control policies, access contract up to 500, and fabric nodes for 500. All the virtual networks and IP pools as 64 and 100. If you want to get higher numbers, we will come up with either a hardware appliance on a large and extra large, and it's in the roadmap for us to create a bigger appliance for ESXi and AWS. You can get extra scale numbers in this. For the ESXi itself, these are the specifications that you will be required. As you can see, you will need to download an OVA file. You will require to get at least 32 virtual CPUs assigned to this virtual machine. Assign also 256 gigabits of RAM and storage at least 3 terabytes of solid state disk drive. If you are planning to create a backup HD for your virtual machine, you will need to reserve additional data storage space. And the storage bandwidth, as you can see, is 180 megabits per second and IOPS between 2K and 2500. For the server specifications, we do require you to have a vCenter and ESXi at least on the version 7.0, a processor of Intel CPU from 2.1 gigahertz and above. HT must be enabled, and the minimum, if you're using standalone hosts of RAM, is 264 to host the ESXi hypervisor and the virtual appliance virtual machine. for rate as long as this goes with the bandwidth and IOPS. And you will need to create, depending on your needs, two virtual networks for enterprise management. The latency between your cattle center and the network devices that you will be managing, it's required to be less than 200 milliseconds. This is for better performance, for monitoring, doing upgrades, and doing changes on your network. Now, this is a list that you will be able to use whenever you are preparing for your deployment for the Catalyst Center on ESXi. Again, first you will need to download the OVA. You can get it from cisco.com or software.cisco.com. This is the OVA, and you can also get the launcher. I will show you in a bit, a little bit more of these details. It's a big file, so please be patient when you are downloading, to the checksums for it after you complete the download. Get the vCenter or ESXi ready. It supports the standalone host, or you can go with the vCenter as well. Create one or two virtual networks. This is optional. Remember, back in the hardware appliance, we have the enterprise and we have the management interface. You can create both or just the enterprise for your data center on ESXi. Meet all the resources requirements and decide if you're using thick or thin provisioning. So remember, for environments where they're going to be in production, we do recommend to do thick provisioning because it will allocate all the storage upfront and will be consistent performance. Instead of doing the thin provisioning, this may be useful if you are just doing just a proof of concept or just using this Catalyst Center for a lab environment. That should be okay. But for production, please do provision the disk as thick. Finally, on the Catalyst Center side, you will need to reserve this IP addressing on your network, the DNS, NTP, proxy address URL, and then get a magnet password. We will review that on the demo quickly. There are going to be two options for you to deploy a virtual machine if you're familiar with the ESXi environment. There's the manual way to complete this workflow. You will download your OVA from CCO, review that you have all your ESXi resources, create the VM networks, make sure that they are up and running, and deploy the OVA OVF file. After the virtual machine is up and running, you will be able to complete the configuration wizard either with the maglev install or the web UI. The web UI will let you go on a wizard to complete the installation. And if you want to go with the maglev install, it will go with the maglev wizard as well. If you want to know a little bit more on how to perform this manually, I will invite you to join our ATX for deploying Catalyst Center on ESXi. On today's session, we will focus on the automated mode. So in order to use the automated mode, you will need to download the LVA and the launcher from CCO. I will show you where they are located. You will prepare a configuration file. It will be a script that you will be using with this launcher executable file. In order to complete this, you will execute the launcher. There are going to be two options that we will review in a demo as well. And after it completes the setup, it will take you directly to the Catalyst Center GUI. So you will not need to go over any wizards, either the web UI or the maglev one. You will get redirected to the Catalyst Center on ESXi and will be ready for you to log in. There is going to be an initial login. We can write you down in here. It's admin and maglev 1 and 3. After the first login, you will need to create a new admin user and complete the initial settings. If you see, compared with the manual workflow to this one, it will save you some time. But at the end, if you're using the launcher tool, it will ease the installation a lot for you when you're deploying your Catalyst Center. As for the backups, Catalyst Center and ESXi will give you two options to create a backup. You can still use the same as a physical appliance, configure an external NFS server, or you can go with a physical disk. With this, you will have a flexible storage. You can have the physical disk attached to your virtual machine, and then you create a new space on the disk that you have in there. And you won't need an extra server. It will be very easy to deploy the backup and restore. The data will be secure, and the data retention will be based on your virtual machine. So about the storage requirements, as you can see, we have two parts of the data that you will be saving on your backups. There's going to be the automation data and the assurance data. The automation will do all the databases, credentials, file systems, etc. And the assurance, it's all the information that we're gathering from your network devices, right? So if you want to calculate how will be this, which will be the size of these hard disks when you are adding it to your virtual machine, you can do an exercise like this. For 14 days incremental, it can get up to 1.75 terabytes of data. For every daily automation data will be about 50 gigabits. So if for 14 days approx, you will require at least 2.5 terabytes of data if you want to keep your storage on your disk on this new virtual machine hard disk drive. Moving forward a little bit on the feature support, remember the Catalyst Center on ESXi has a feature parity with the releases 233, 235, except of some of the following. For the automation, we do not support wide area bonjour. We don't support the DNA telemetry appliance or Stelwatch. You can also not enable the FIPS on these Catalyst Center on ESXi. Some of them, these features may be on the roadmap. I will keep you updated if you want to check the release notes for future releases. There are going to be some others that may be updated. There's no support for Umbrella or user-defined network for wireless. The sensors, remember, sensors have reached already their end of sale, so they're not supported on the Catalyst Center and ESXi. Some of the workflows to do backups using a snapshot or doing the backup or restore from Catalyst Center hardware appliance are not supported yet, but it's in the roadmap as well. If you had a previous DNA appliance and you want to restore a backup on an ESXi, that will be available soon for you. So there are a few others, such as authentication API encryption, security sensor endpoint analytics, and group-based policy analytics. They're not supported, such as telemetry on the VM and host level, and IPv6. There are some limitations and restrictions, as we mentioned at the beginning. There is no three-node clustering. All the high availability is achieved by a VMware vSphere. There are features that are not supported as usual on any other virtual machines on your VMware environment, such as the fault tolerance, suspending and resuming the VMs. If you want to shut down your VM, you can shut down first VM maglev, the Catalyst Center, and then just shut down the VM itself. Then you can turn it again. You cannot clone it or do a snapshots as a backup on the Catalyst Center. There is no application telemetry for the 9500 switches via Catalyst Center on ESXi. And there's a note about the management interface. Whenever you want to use the management interface, you can either set it up with a launcher interactive mode, with the silent mode and the dual config NIC JSON file, or if you do create your virtual machine in a manual mode, you will need to add a new interface on your VM, and then reconfigure the full Catalyst Center using the sudo maglev config update via the maglev CLI. So if you are going to plan in advance, you can do either the first two options. Even in future, if you want to modify your virtual machines, you can add it this way. So let's take a look on the demo for Catalyst Center on ESXi. Give me 1 second. Let's go to our dcloud demo here. So if you can see it here, I already have my VMware ESXi host. Let's give it a second to load, please. Quick second, please. It's coming up. Okay, so as we mentioned, there are going to be two options for you to create a new virtual machine. This morning, I created a new virtual machine on this server. I already have one that it is shut down for now, one that is ready for us to go to the initial setup. But if you want to create one virtual machine manually, you can go to create a new virtual machine by right-clicking on the virtual machines, click on deploy a virtual machine via OVF or OVA, click next. You can do a naming here. and select the OVA file that you previously downloaded from cisco.com. This is the one, this is the previous version. Newer version is a little bit bigger file. You select that and then you click next. It will ask you for the data store. Make sure that you meet the requirements for space. Since this is a demo environment, I don't have a 3 TB. What I can do use the theme provisioning to do not use the full space, and the Catalyst Center OVA allow me to deploy these in a virtual on a demo environment. It will ask you for the network mappings. Again, if you see this previous version of the OVA, only let me add the enterprise interface, and I can select my primary VLAN for this enterprise network. That will be the one where I can reach the GUI, where I should be getting internet access for software upgrades, and the one that I can use to reach my managed devices. If you have an option to get the management interface and latest releases of these OVA files, we should have the options to add the management. If not, we can add it later on. If you click next, this is expected error because I'm using ESXi standalone host. You will see that it will ask me for all the summary details, make sure that I have everything good, and I can click on finish. As for now, I will cancel. This is the way that you can easily deploy the Catalyst Center manually. After that, you will be able to get into your maglev interface. You will be able to access this and start the maglev wizard. Again, today we will focus on the Launchpad and the launcher that we have installed here already. So the launcher, you will be able to download this from cisco.com and will come with a couple of files. I already unzipped them all. If you can see, I have a config.json file, a dual nick JSON file, and the executable for the launcher. If I open the config.json file in here, as you can see, it's going to be in a script that includes all the information needed for me to deploy a VM. It will have the host type team that is the same as my ESXi host that I have here, the port, the path to the OVA file, that if you can see, I have it in here. It's my E drive, exactly the same path, and a virtual machine name. So this can be whatever you want to call your virtual machine. If you're using vSphere, there are a couple of other things that you will need to add in here as a data center cluster and a host name. And then you will add your data store. If we come back here, data store I'm using here is data store number 1. That's good. Then the provisioning that I will be using in my case will be theme provisioning. The network, I only have one network available here, that's the enterprise. And this is IP addressing for my Catalyst Center, DNS servers, proxy, and fully qualified domain name. If you don't have any entries for specific inputs that are asked on this JSON file, you can just leave them blank without the spaces that is sitting here. And let's take a look quickly on the dual nick JSON. The only difference, as you can see here, it has the management network added into the networks and the IP addressing for the same as well. So if you decide to go with both interfaces for management and interface, you can use this dual config file, or you can use as well the interactive mode of the launcher. So the launcher, again, we have downloaded this already into my C drive. I already have this. And let me get back. We can see that I have the DNAC ESXi launcher.exe. So I can do a little bit of get of help from this. We do -H. You will get help to see what are the inputs that you can get. So there are going to be, again, 2 options. Let me go up a little bit. I already did the silent mode setup in this, wherever I put all the information for it as goes as follows. So if you want to go the silent mode, you will need to execute the launcher, do a -C, that's going to be the config file that you will be using, the configuration. -U, that's going to be the username and password for your ESXi server. -L will be the password that you will be using for the Catalyst Center CLI, and -V to avoid some certificate checks that are needed here. I won't trigger this one because I already did this morning and I have one running virtual machine in here, but we can use the interactive mode. So if I trigger the interactive mode, it will ask me for all these details that we have in here, such as the IP for my host. So I can just paste that in here. Just give me 1 second. We will go little by little. We'll do some checks, as you can see. We can confirm port is 443. The username that we will be using will be root. The password for this server that we have in here. It will check that everything is good. The path for my VM we have in here already written as well. We will give it a name for it. Let's call it webinar. If you want to use thin or thick provisioning, we can use thin in this case. As you can see, it will take me back to, because I don't have the full resources, but if you go over all the wizard, it will complete the setup for you. And whenever everything is completed, you will see the following output. This is a summary that you will get similar to the one that you use on the interactive mode to check all the import OVA, everything. You will see that the virtual machine has been powered on successfully, that it has been deployed in a good way. And please be patient. After the ESXi completes the installation of this virtual machine using the launcher, take about 45 minutes for you to boot up the virtual machine completely. In case you want to add an extra disk, you can go to your virtual machine in here. I mean, you should shut down this if you want to do any changes, and you can edit and ask the fourth disk. In my case, I already added a fourth disk with 500 qubits to add my backup server, and you will see on the next setup how can you use it. Also, if you want to add a new network adapter for your management interface, you can do it in here. Add the network adapter, add to the proper VM network that you will be using for management, and then run the maglev wizard again to complete the setup of your management interface. Now, this VM, it's already up and running. You will be able to get maglev access with the password that we set up during the launcher setup. And then you will be able to log into the IP address that you assigned to it. This is going to be the welcome page that you can see for your Cattle Center whenever you go for the initial login. I will be using, again, the admin. Admin and maglev 1 at 3. Remember, let me close this. And remember, you cannot reuse the admin. You need to use, let's say, for me, it's going to be my username, Bulgarian. You can do the your name, last name. There's going to be a super admin role for it. You can add your email. And let's put a password. Just 1 second. Remember, after you do the new user for the initial setup in the Catalyst Center, your previous admin will be deleted. So you want to create a new one, you can do that from users and roles on the Catalyst Center settings. So you can save this. It will ask you to log back with your username. Let's log back here. It's coming up, just 1 second. We will log in back again, so it will give us access directly to the Catalyst Center. You can see this newer version. Let me skip this. It's already have all the new rebranding into Cisco Catalyst Center. You can add from this initial setup your credentials for cisco.com so you can get access to the downloads and upgrades. We will skip that for now. You can accept the end user license agreement here. And as easy as that, you will get access to your Catalyst Center GUI. We can verify that it has the latest version. Let's go to software management. The system is up to date. You can add all the additional applications you want to use for SE access, app hosting, and so on from here. Whenever you do complete the install, I suggest you to install everything that you need. And if there's any upgrade, let's say to 23745, that it's going to be it's already a phase rollout for the next GA release on Catalyst or ESXi. You can do all the upgrade before you start with everything. We can take a look quickly here on the system settings. You can add later on the Cisco credentials. You will be adding them here. You can also verify on user and roles wherever you want to create a new admin user by adding it here. You can add a new admin DNAC user here, complete the password and confirm password to add a new one. And then let's take a look on the disk that I added. It should be here. There's a backup and restore. You can configure settings. There's going to be a mount path shown in here. So this is the disk that I added for my Catalyst Center backup. I can do a passphrase. Remember, this passphrase will be needed for you to unencrypt the backup when you are restoring this. It's going to be, you see, I'm using the physical disk. I define the mount path, and I can submit this here. It says it has configured successfully. I can go back to backup and restore, and it will allow me to create new backups from here. You can see that it is my disk that I already have. You can either create a backup for the webinar, and you can do either all data that it's assurance and automations, or just the automation that will be a smaller piece of backup that we can get in here. Remember to review when you finish the install of your Catalyst Center on ESXi, the System 360, to make sure that all the services are up and running, that you have access to software management, that you have everything in place. If you will start to adding your external connected systems such as ICE or IPAM, you can do it that when you're doing the first install. And then right after, you will be able to start discovering your network devices. Make sure that you have reachability from this IP address to all the network devices that you would like to add. You can add a discovery, enable them to do a discovery via IP address range, and start onboarding your devices. So with this, we complete the first part of our demo and then we will follow up with the Catalyst Center on AWS, okay? Remember, if you have any questions, you can put it on the Q&A and we will be happy to respond. By the end of the session, we will have a Q&A section on this. So let's move forward with the Catalyst Center on AWS. As you can see, we're having here the Catalyst Center on AWS architecture. If you're familiar with this, there are going to be a few components that you may need to know in order to work with AWS and our Catalyst Center. AWS will help you to provide a kind of same virtual environment, but they have their own terms. They will have an EC2 instance that this will be a robust R5A extra large EC2 instance where we will be deploying the Catalyst Center. It will be secured in a VPC and will help you to connect on your enterprise with different methods. Within the VPC, we will have different subnets where these Catalyst Center networking range will be residing. You will have security groups, let's call it kind of actually, that will allow the traffic back and forward. We will be defining these permissions and exact ports so you can access your Catalyst Center EC2 instance from your enterprise. And AMI is kind of image that we're using in order to deploy the Catalyst Center on AWS. Then we will have our VPN gateway that will be connecting to your enterprise using your customer gateway. There are going to be a few options for you to connect. Either we can create a point-to-point IPsec tunnel. We can do direct connect SD-WAN or colocation. So this is a little bit on the architecture part for this Cloud Center on AWS. Remember that if you are going to do a deployment of this, we're going to have two options. So the first option is going to be the auto mode using the Launchpad application. This is very easy to set up. There doesn't need an AWS knowledge. It's going to be a kind of wizard thing that you will be going through just to make sure that you have your AWS account, that you subscribe to the proper subscription for Catalyst Center on AWS and the marketplace, and you have some the right access to use these Launchpad. We will get in details in a minute, which are the options for you to use the Launchpad. But it's gonna deploy everything automatically for you, all the infrastructure, the configuration, alerts, security groups, VPN gateway, everything will be done for you automatically. And also we'll leverage the cloud NFS for backup and restore. So you need to create an extra EC2 instance as you need to do it when you do manually. All the standard configuration for the VPN gateway or transit gateway will be done for you. And it's ideal for users who do not have much AWS experience. Now, if we go to the manual mode, it will use the CloudFormation template. You will need to have all these other components created in advance, as we mentioned, the VPC, security groups, all your subnets, everything that is needed to create any EC2 instance. You will need to do that in advance. You will deploy this CloudFormation template with a file that we have available for you on Cisco.com as well. So all the manual configuration takes some extra time. It's more recommended for power users that in certain type of scenarios, you will maybe need to reuse some of your transit gateways and attachments. So the manual mode using CloudFormation template should be the way. We're working on many ways to improve the way that we're using the Launchpad. We can review later on, which is the enhancement that we have done on the latest version of it's Launchpad 1.9. But again, if you are power user of AWS and you need to do some specific configurations, mostly on the transit gateway to the EC2 instance that we will have as AWS, you will need to go this way. For the backup and restore, you will need to create an extra EC2 instance of T3 micro as well, but everything needs to be done manually. You can review a little bit on the backup and configuration settings, and we will share some more details later on for these kind of setups. Now, they're going to be the first option for you to do create your Catalyst Center using Launchpad. It's going to be 4 easy steps for you. You will set up your account on AWS. You will access the dna.cisco.com, and then you will start configuring all the AWS infrastructure. It will create all the VPC subnets, the details for the VPNs, the instance profile, the backup target, everything this is done for you. You will need to configure your on-prem customer gateway. So it will allow you to download the IPsec configuration. You will need to apply this configuration on your router or firewall. We can see some of the vendors that are supported in a bit, and open the required ports on your enterprise side. After the tunnels are up and running, you will be able to access the Catalyst Center GUI, do all the initial setup and configuration, and start onboarding your devices. In order to access the Launchpad, there are going to be the two options. You can either do the desktop Launchpad, where you will have a local deployment, requires a Docker client and server to run on your computer. This is ideal for users that are comfortable with Docker and want a more local setup. And then we have the hosted Launchpad. It's a cloud-based Launchpad, runs on our Cisco environment. It's going to be identical experience. The GUI that you have, it's going to be the same. And then you will be able to log in with your AWS account. This is ideal for users that want more like a cloud-based solutions. So both options are user-friendly. That depends on your needs, and but you can use one or the other one. And finally, we have the manual mode. As we mentioned, if you want to go manual, you will need to do all the prerequisites. You will need to have your existing VPC and subnets configured, all the security groups configured as well with the requirements that we have on our documentation. You will follow up on the deployment process to deploy the Catalyst Center using the CloudFormation template, set up your VPN gateway, wait for the AWS data center to be up and ready, and make sure that you do review all the additional considerations, such as the routing tables, the VPC CIDR that you will be using, or the subnet range, security groups, and so on. After that, if you have configured everything, you can get access to your Catalyst Center to start the discovery and start using your Catalyst Center on AWS. We have a second poll for you. We would like to know if you are planning to refresh your Catalyst Center soon, either if you have already ordered a DN2 appliance, or you are planning to order a DN3 appliance, or you will use any of our virtual appliances on AWS or ESXi. We would like to know a little bit more. So if you can get us to know on the slider, will be great. Now, we have prepared for you a second demo on deploying the Catalyst Center using the Launchpad app. So let me go back to our demos page. Um, here, sorry, 1 second. So I will be using our hosted Launchpad. This is on dna.cisco.com. So let me log in back again. If you go to the main menu, you will get access to the Launchpad beta. And I already have logged in with my account that I have on my AWS account. I will show some more details on the AWS console in a bit. I'll check for you later. So you can see all the 15 regions that we have available for you to deploy this Catalyst Center on AWS using Launchpad. They're worldwide spread. I have one DNA Launchpad created already, or one instance of Catalyst Center being created already. And whenever you want to create a new one, you will be able to select based on your regions. I can select East 2. And then we can start adding the name that you will be using for here. You will select availability zone within your region name that you have. You can add a CIDR. This should be the VPC CIDR that you will be using in the AWS cloud. It will be your private space where the Catalyst Center IP address will be residing. And then you will need to choose which type of connectivity you want to use into your customer gateway. Let's say if you have a firewall, you can use the public IP address of the firewall, and you can select the vendors that you have available from our list on the launcher. You have a long list. We can just try to use maybe USR or ASR. You can choose a different type of device, either firewalls or routers from Cisco or any other vendor you have. And then you can select the version from here. Again, if you remember, the scale parity goes up the same for the hardware appliance DN2 normal one, 44 cores. We're planning to add different profiles for it so you can get larger scale in the future, but this is still on the roadmap. And then you can select the cloud backup that we mentioned here. Whenever you click next, it will give you a summary of all that you have for this new BA pod, and you can start configuring the AWS infrastructure. So on the back end, it will start create everything for you with their own CloudFormation. It still uses CloudFormation, but it automates everything for you. So it will take some time to complete everything that you have in here. Let's give it a minute. But for the ease of time, I have prepared a small video for you. Again, it will start creating all the subnets, the VPC, we'll go all the CloudFormation, create a private route. We will select, get for you all the security groups. So everything on the AWS architecture will be done for you during this very first step. Then we will be able to configure the on-prem tunnel endpoints. So that's where we will be showing you this video for you. After the wizard from the last screen completes, you will be able to do the configuration of your on-premise firewall. You have selected that already, so you will be able to download the configuration file. Configuration file may look like this. This is for the ASR. So remember, we will be creating 2 tunnels. So all the configuration for the IKE, for the crypto ISACamp, and the IPsec configuration for the tunnels themselves will be included here. So this is a step-by-step guide that you can use to set up your tunnel interfaces. So you can see this is exactly what you will be needing to configure. Make sure that you have your correct source and destination for the tunnels, and configure the 2 tunnels that we have in here. This is the first configuration, and also the routing that you will need to be adding. So the slider that we added on the other end needs to match in here with the one that we have. So this is the second tunnel that you can see is exactly the same configuration that you will be adding on your firewall or router. And after that, when everything is completed, the tunnel should be coming up as is on your network connectivity check. So please make sure that you configure your firewall router correctly so you can follow up to the configuration of the new DNA center. As you can see here, we will be adding some more details about the setup. We will add the DNS. We will add the fully qualified domain name. If you see down here, in order to know which IP address you will be using for the fully qualified domain name, it's listed in here already, 172.31.200.5. So this entry should match with the one you have on your DNS server. I will move a little bit this forward. So you can see the address that I have in here match with the DNS fully qualified name on my domain that I have on my DNS server. You added that in here. Will help you to check the proxy details, and you will add the CLI password on this step. Complete and validate. We'll do a validation of the enterprise DNS and the fully qualified domain name for you, and we'll start that configuration. So we'll take around 10 minutes to complete the setup. You can see you will have your URL ready for you to access your Catalyst Center. Remember to download the PEM file for you to get the proper SSH connectivity. This is very important for you to keep it safe and do a backup of this file itself so you can SSH to your Catalyst Center. It will complete everything for you. And then we'll tell you, okay, the Catalyst Center is ready. You can go and manage your Catalyst Center. So if we go back here, just give me 1 second. If we go back to our AWS console, we can see that the Launchpad has created for me 2 instances. Oh, let me go back to Ohio. So in Ohio, I have my 2 instances that the Launchpad created before. It's going to be an R5 extra large and a T3 micro. So you can monitor them from here. You will see all the details that the Launchpad have assigned to them. So I have a .6 for my backup, and I have a .5 for the other one. And just give me 1 second. I will show you in a second how does this looks when it's deployed completely. It will be installing for you that 235 version. Let's take a look quickly. It's a 2355 version that we have on this Kali Center on AWS. This is exactly the same that I show you on my console. And you can see, you can check all the same system settings that you had before. But I would like to show you quickly because we have this backup server that we saw that it's 122.16.206. Just to make sure, this is going to be the 206. You can see it in here. We can add this server this way. You need to require to get the IP address. The server path is going to be the following: var dnec backup For NFS, it's going to be var NFS share, same IP address. You can use the maglev user to add this server, and it's going to be the same password that we reviewed before, the maglev one add three credentials. You can add also the encryption passphrase. And whenever you add these, you will be able to use your cloud backup from AWS. Now, so this was a quick demo for you to learn a little bit on the Launchpad. And we will close with some key points to remember. So some of the things that you learn on this quick session, it's the Cloud Center on ESXi and AWS will come with a new virtual form factor that will help you speed up your deployment. So you can see within 1 hour and 90 minutes, you will be able to have a new Catalyst Center ready to onboard your devices. The VMware vSphere and AWS High Availability features will ensure the continuous operation of your Catalyst Center, so you need to worry about having a cluster for now on these kind of setups. You will reduce your infrastructure costs by leveraging a pay-as-you-go model on AWS if you're using the cloud solution. And remember, AWS will provide a really secure infrastructure that meets a wide range of compliance requirements, including SOC, PCI DSS, and HIPAA. And by running the Catalyst Center on ESXi AWS will allow you to choose the deployment model that fits for your needs. So we will share with you a list of links that are related on the community at cisco.com. We'll have a community post where you can keep asking some more questions, and you can have the documentation links for this session. And as the next steps, we'll send you a survey invite. We'll have you will receive that from us, and please let us know about your thoughts on the session. And now we will be ready for a Q&A. So Carlo, if you can help
Awesome.
me.
Yeah, thank you very much, Julio. As you mentioned, we'll go ahead and take some time for questions now. Just a reminder, please be sure to type your questions into the question and answer panel so that our panelists can go ahead and answer accordingly. All right. First question I have here, Julio, is what is the difference between Cisco DNA Center and Catalyst Center? I know you mentioned that, but
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, as you know, we have rebranded the Cisco DNA Center solution into Catalyst Center. It's just the same product with a new naming.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right. Next question I have up here is what does Cisco Catalyst Center VA on AWS or ESXi cost?
Yeah, as we mentioned in the presentation, the software for Catalyst Center on both virtual factors, it has no cost for you. It's included on the Cisco and the Catalyst Essentials and Catalyst Advantage software subscriptions. You may need to order these with a specific PID. So whenever you want to use these solutions, please make contact with your sales team so they can place a proper order for you. And you may be required to get a special license that will be deposited on your smart account so you can register later on your Catalyst Center. As we mentioned, we also suggest for you to get a support package to cover any support for this Catalyst Center virtual factors.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Moving on to our third question is what are the usage charges from AWS for Cisco Catalyst Center VA on AWS Cloud?
Yeah, and let me try to share my screen here quickly. There are going to be some charges involved, and we have a calculator that you can use. It will come with a easy to, let me share back again my screen quickly. So this is a breakdown for a specific region that we have in here. There's going to be the breakdown for cost for EC2 instance. This is the main DNS server, including the EVS volume. So you will pay for the compute and storage for the EC2 instance that we have for the main Catalyst Center appliance. Then we have the backup instance with its storage. You will be paying a little bit on the databases, the VPCs, and bandwidth. So whenever you want to know a little bit more on these cost details, it's just an estimate, but you can still use these as a reference. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay. Next question I have here is, does Catalyst Center on AWS or AWS and ESXi offer high availability support?
Yes, it relies on both platform technologies to keep the high availability going. We can provide you some more details on how this works, but it will rely either on the ESXi, HA, or AWS to keep everything up and running for you without having any clustering.
Awesome. Thank you again. Next question is Catalyst Center VA compatible with ESXi cloud servers like Azure VMware Solutions, uh, Google Cloud Services, or AWS Cloud?
And well, for now we have the options for you to deploy it on VMware ESXi, but for the cloud solutions, we do offer like support only for AWS. We have on the roadmap to have the Catalyst Center on Azure, but this is still a testing phase.
Thank you. Okay. Next question I have here is, how much time does it take to deploy the Catalyst Center VM on ESXi?
Well, it will depend if you use the manual or the launcher option, but it will take you between 60 to 90 minutes to have it ready to get access to your GUI.
Perfect. Thank you. And it looks like we just have two additional questions. Um, One is, can we use Linux operating system?
Mm, for which certain, I mean, to deploy the Catalyst Center, if you can give us some more background. Let's give an example. Um, let me get back here. For the Launchpad, Docker, you can use that on different operating systems, such as Linux. But if you can give us some more details on that on a question, absolutely, will be get back to you.
Thank you very much. And it looks like that last question got answered. The user
Okay.
asked, or the user mentioned that they got an issue with the supplier about spreading the DNA license across the two accounts. And then the answer to
Mm,
that was, with having multiple smart accounts, licenses cannot be moved between smart accounts in a self-serve fashion. However, a case will have to be open with Cisco support team to move assets between smart accounts. So definitely contact Cisco Tech for getting that resolved. All right. Well,
thank you.
let's see here. Oh, okay. They just responded back. They were thanking Nasli, who is one of our panelists. They were mentioning, I just think what easy to transfer all licenses under one account or just to use two accounts. So I tried the second account. Probably I'll ask the tech. Thanks. So, yeah, last comment there. So awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Well, it looks like we've covered all our questions. Julio, is there anything else you wanted to cover before we wrap up?
No, I saw some questions about a smaller factor of the Catalyst Center BM. That's also on the roadmap, so we'll keep you informed if there's any options for have less resources assigned to the Catalyst Center and ESXi. We will publish that information for you guys. But yeah, that's a big ask to have a smaller form factor.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again, Julio. Thank you to the whole team for bringing your knowledge to the Cisco community. Again, if you have a question, I'll keep the Q&A window open for a couple more minutes, or please do visit us on the post-webinar discussion thread. We'll place the link to, or a downloadable copy of today's slide deck in there as well. And I believe the live stream for that for this event is posted on there already, so you can simply just review the recording there until we get the official recordings uploaded into CLN. All right. Well, at this time, I do encourage you to take the time for our survey, which you'll be directed to. We do encourage your participation. Your feedback is important to us, and it'll let us actually, gather additional info on what webinars, how well we did, and future topics that you'd like discussed. Again, we thank everyone for joining us today, and we will see you next.